if we can't start it with my generation, we're already done.
Yeah.
We're done. We are conditioned. We are programmed.
Professional generation.
So it has to start with the boy, and this is how it has to be.
We're done too.
It has to be. You have to start with the boy, and the way you start
That's what I said.
is that you are going to let the boy know that it's okay to cry. It's okay to talk. All right. When you have a younger girl who is 11, 12, or whatever, that girl at that age is already learning to build capacity because she can talk. Nobody's looking at her. She can express herself when she's overwhelmed. She knows how to deal with pain because she has a period, nobody knows, and then she carries it. She can multitask. She's cooking, she's taking care of Junior, she's doing all sorts of things. She's building capacity and she's getting educated. And so when that girl becomes, 18, 19, 20 and all that stuff, she's an alpha female.
Like your daughter.
That's it.
So, but then the boy, what happens to the boy?
They get coddled.
The boy is told, don't enter kitchen. Don't talk. Don't cry. Don't do anything. So it goes out, plays football, comes back.
I was just going to say, go and play football.
He has no skill. He has developed nothing. And then you now get that boy with no capacity to marry
the girl
with all the capacity. She's literally going to kill him.
No, either kill him or mother him.
So we have to learn to be vulnerable.
That's deep.
Most times we mother them.
And the way to do it is that we have to start that deconstruct. And for older men like us, men have to talk to men.
Yes.
I think, first of all, I want to thank you for this topic because I feel like things like this don't come up a lot, right? I want to start with social media, which is where most of us spend most of our time, right? As you scroll through these pages, what do you see? Podcast, everybody now has a podcast.
Yes,
90% of the time you're hearing, men are scum, you're this, you cannot afford to do this. No matter what, do you understand the level of, I'm talking about a young single man, for example.
Advert, ladies.
I want attached.
What they experience every single day. There's no matter how much you're able to try, it's not good enough. It's never good enough. No matter how much you try, no matter how much you try for yourself, for your family, no matter how much you try to give, it's not good enough. Now, like you said, it's something that you said about, we remove ourselves, we try to isolate our family and friends. We do that to protect ourselves. Because the less information they know about you, the more opportunity you get. That's what people don't understand. If I come and tell my guy now, bro, man, it's hard. He's not going to call me the next time there's something happening. He's not coming to brag, we're going to the club. And probably the club is where I probably go to meet the next guy that's going to, it's like, nah, he's not getting money. Don't call him.
I don't think that is true. I don't know.
I'm telling you from a mindset guy.
I'm telling you what we're going through. Like this is fact. Like the more if you come out and you talk about what you're going through, whether it's because 90% of the time, because of the demand that is placed on you, it drives towards financial.
Yeah.
Men have been conditioned to provide. Why do you?
So my question is to you, Bright, when do you get off the merry-go-round? When do you get off the carousel?
When do you get real?
There is no getting off something that is part of a system. Like,
are you saying he's going to get...
The only way you get off is to off yourself. And that's why people do that.
That's why they off themselves.
That's why they off themselves. I'm sorry, guys. I'm not done. That's why they off themselves. I can tell you there's certain times, maybe back in the days, not now, where I've never been suicidal, say I will kill myself, but I've been in a position where I'm like, if it happens now, I'm good. It's like, maybe I'm in a car and I have an accident, it's like, let it happen now, it's okay. I'm not going to do it, and I can tell you a lot of men are thinking that's like, if this house falls on top of our head now, let it fall, but I'm okay. The pressure that society put on you, and then the women are not helping. In fact, you guys make it worse.
It's not all women, please.
I'm just saying, I'm not generalizing.
Like I qualified responsible men. You must qualify.
I'm not generalizing.
No, you must qualify. You said the women.
Okay,
you should say some women.
Responsibly women.
Yeah.
Most women. Yes. Most women.
Thank you.
Most women make it worse. They make it worse.
Which kind of women are you going after?
No, it's not. Like I said, I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about what's happening.
No, not you. Which kind of women are you men going after? You start her off with her throat open like this.
Exactly, and then
you come at her with everything, and then you tell her she should not buy her wig. Meanwhile, you bought her 5 when you were dating her. You have to calm her down from the beginning.
So when you look at all of these demands that are placed on, and like Yeka said, you don't give us an opportunity to have the capacity because like, just go and do whatever you want to do. We don't have what it takes to be able to go out there and make money. Especially now, there's focus so much on girl child, empower the girl child, like train the girl child.
We've been down for too long.
They're less focused on the guys. And then at the end of the day, they take the entire burden and say, okay, you have to carry it, and you don't have the capacity to carry it. You'll be overloaded by it, and then you're depressed, and then you're confused, and then you're like, you know what? Let me just end this.
And Bryce, can I give you a hug? Thank you for the candid conversation because this was
Bryce is always candid when it comes to those kind of things.
Yeah. Silence doesn't mean that emotions and trauma will go away. It's always good to talk.
Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our mind. Zuma, we can certainly teach the men a thing or two in that department. However, I'm neither on the side of the men, responsible or not, or the women. I am on God's side. I remember watching a documentary on the renowned reggae star Bob Marley. It was interesting to find out that his father was a Caucasian and the legend was treated as an outcast while growing up. In Jamaica, his homeland, he was neither accepted as black nor white. He stated that he was neither on the black side nor the white side, but on God's side, the one who created him. That in itself set the tone for his music and spoke volumes to me. Nigeria has been described as the only country that has churches and mosques on virtually every street corner, every Sunday, every Friday, like clockwork. These places of worship are filled to the brim. The piety on the faces is something to behold. At the end of service, all will step out gorgeously dressed into another world and continue in their deception and wicked ways. Whose side are you on? When you are in a position to award contracts and you inflate the amount to get a hefty cut, whose side are you on? When you disobey the traffic signs and decide to drive like a banshee, whose side are you on, I ask? When you knowingly deprive your people of their basic needs, the same people who vote you into power, who are we fooling? The Bible says that our holiness is like filthy rags before God. He's not fooled. If truly we were on the God side, Nigeria would be a place where the people need not suffer untold hardships, as is the case. It is indeed a land flowing with milk and honey, but greed, I'm tired of saying the same thing, selfishness, corruption have taken a huge grip over this nation like a strong vice. It's really not that hard to do the right thing, but it is a lot easier to do wrong. Some of us, when we go to the UK, we stand in line on the escalator heading into Terminal 3 at Heathrow. Some on the right, you stand on the right, you walk on the left. Yet when we arrive home, it's like his spirits, just takes over and orderliness is thrown out the door. I want us to get back to the place where we truly are our brother's keeper. Let's ponder on this question, and that includes all of us here. Whose side are we on? Are we on God's side?
I'm on the Lord's side.
I try to be on God's side most of the time. We can only try. We can't.
Yeah, you try. You can't be perfect. Only God is perfect.
But yeah, a lot of people are on their personal interest side. Nigerians, I'm going to limit this conversation to Nigerians. We are very self-focused.
Yes.
We don't think about the consequences of our action on other people. We are very situationally unaware. We don't think about the next person. We don't think, you see people on the road just standing in the middle of the road, not thinking about the fact that people need to pass the road and for them to move. You see people park inappropriately, not thinking about the fact that another car needs to park. We don't even have disabled parking.
Disabled are not people now. That's why they don't think about them.
How much we are unaware and how much we don't care about one another. We all need to do better. We need to be intentional about being more aware. We are not existing in a vacuum. the world is for all of us to exist in harmony and equitably if possible. So we should try as much as possible not to consume too much space. And this includes not consuming too much space is you inflating a contract so you could get a cut. Because that is not your cut.
Yeah.
That is not your space. You're trying to infringe on somebody else's space. That's it.
Right.
I mean, if one thing,
You're
like
going to
said,
speak last because
well, I think like
I
you
want
said,
to so.
life would be way easier. I posted a video last week, and it was a guy just saying every 100 years there are a new set of people in the world, and if we get to see that we're just a crew of people, and like you should be excited that I'm with you. We're together. We're in the same crew.
We are doing well together at the same
You know,
time.
we're in the same crew in the world at this time because after 100 years, we're all going to leave.
Yeah, so
and there's a whole new set that will come in. And just the fact that, you know, I'm here with you and you're here with me, like, it's like we're a team,
Yes.
right? If we see things from that perspective, life will be way better. We live in a society where if it's not to you, then you don't feel it.
I wrote here, corruption is a culture in Nigeria today. And whether you like it or not, it's the reality. It's either someone is opening an eatery, the door to an eatery for you, and is telling you, well done, sir. Is expecting something from you. When you see a policeman, especially the police, they say, all right, sir,
we are here for you.
You're paying for that greeting.
Your boys are here.
I'll greet you back.
It is a culture. So it is not only the leaders, even we, the followers. So many times when I say the problem with this country is also of the followers, people take me up and say, no, it's the leaders. Where do you get the leaders? Isn't it one of us who becomes leaders?
Your advocacy reminded me of a line in Michael Jackson's song Black and White, you know, the rap by Bill Bottrell, which says, there's a line that says, I'm not going to spend my life being a color. Remember that?
I'm not going to spend a life being a colored, yes. Yeah, I remember that.
You know, and the reason it stands out to me is about the concept of ownership. The fact that you can decide to be classified, split into bits and pieces, you know, us versus them, and then live your life like that, or leave society or run government like that, which is essentially what we have. Or you can decide that, well, let's take ownership of this nation. So what has happened over time, and all of you are right about all these issues, whether it's a church or that it's people, whatever, but what the politicians have successfully done is that they've been able to split us into us versus them. So it's either, your problem is not, you know, so in Lagos, no, your problem is not the Yoruba man, it's the Igbo man. Okay? In the north, your problem is not the Muslims, they are the Christians. Or, you know, so they've succeeded in doing that. And the average Nigerian doesn't take ownership of anything. So he doesn't take ownership of government property because he doesn't believe it belongs to him. He doesn't take ownership of policies that are supposed to move the country forward because he thinks it doesn't believe, you know. So the place to start is for us to have an identity of ownership. What makes you a Nigerian? And as long as we have not answered that question in unison, everybody, regardless of your religion, your tribe, your ethnicity, or your gender, if you don't answer that basic question, who is a Nigerian or what makes you a Nigerian, we'll always have this conversation.
Unless we become people of conviction, walking the talk, we will fail to make impact, both as citizens and human beings. It begins with having those big conversations here at the table, same time, 8 p.m., same channel, to take on fresh topical issues. Till then, it's goodbye from all of us. Sayonara.
Odabo.
Bye.
Odabo. See, now I'm speaking my language.
Well done.
I am Sunny Irabo, and I have something special for you. Join me every week for thought-provoking conversations with Africa's most influential leaders and change makers from diverse sectors.
The solution to this is not about begging for food or giving food away. The solution is for Africa to have a bowl in hand, not to beg, but to put seed in those bowls and grow its own food.
Together, we'll explore innovative solutions to the continent's most pressing challenges, from social commentary to politics, the economy, health, family, and lifestyle. We will connect the dots with exclusive interviews with those who are at the forefront of realizing the continent's potential. Expect fresh, interesting, and engaging interviews on the issues that not only matter to us, but that affect Africa and Africans. Sunny Irabo Live on News Central.
Hello and welcome to News Central Now. I am Likon Onobanjo of the headlines at this hour. 74 victims discharged as Plateau State Governor Mutfwang orders closure of collapsed school. Local government election holds in 5,863 polling units in Delta State. Rwanda President Kagame holds final rally in Kigali ahead of elections. Details to come your way shortly. We begin by telling you, looking at the following situation that transpired in Plateau State, where Commissioner for Information Musa Ashoms announced on Saturday that Governor Caleb Mutfwang has ordered the closure of Saints Academy in Jos following its collapse, which killed over 22 people. The governor visited the collapse site in Busabuji and hospitals treating the injured. He also ordered the arrest of artisanal miners operating near residential areas. Governor Mutfwang expressed condolences to the families of the deceased and pledged state support for the injured students' medical costs. The government has declared a 3-day mourning period from July 13 to 15, 2024, with flags at half-mast to honor the victims. In a related development, 4 people have been rescued from a building that collapsed in Kubwa, a residential district of the Bari Area Council in Nigeria's federal capital, Abuja. According to eyewitnesses, the building collapsed in the early hours of this morning. Escaped residents say they heard sounds and rumblings and ran out before the actual collapse. Now, joining us on the news is our correspondent, Joshua Marai, who is at the scene and will be telling us more. Joshua, good afternoon to you. Now, what can you tell us about the building collapse? Any latest updates that we should know? All right, we'll try and see as much as possible to bring Joshua to bring us up to speed as regards the collapsed structure in Abuja. Now, the election of council chairmen and councillors is holding today in the 5,863 polling units in Delta State. Meanwhile, the State Commissioner of Police, Abanumonda Ulufemi, earlier led the Deputy Commissioner of Police Operations, the Squadron Commander, 31 PMF and DPOs across the 25 local government areas to the Central Bank of Nigeria office in Asaba, Delta State, for the inspection of local government election materials. Earlier, Governor of the state, Sheriff Oborewori, cast his votes and spoke on the latest Supreme Court's judgment granting autonomy to local government.
I'm assuring Deltans that this election is free and fair. I've been up since, monitoring the process, and now I'm here to cast my vote. I've casted my vote, and we're sure I will be victory of PDP by the grace of God. Then on the issue of the judgment, Supreme Court have given judgment. But you can see that we believe in that same process. That's why when I came in, I did not constitute a transition committee, but not here in Delta State. I'm not in support of transition committee, and the HPM are the one handling the place, and they were given 3 months and they enable us to do election. And today, by the grace of God, we are doing our election today. By early next week, those won to be sworn in by the grace of God.
The news will continue after the short timeout. To stay with us.
We go where the market demands, as business, trade and market analysis are the core of our reports.
Nigerians are beginning to speculate that the price of premium motor spirit might increase.
If it's breaking, we got it. If it affects you, your business and your pocket, we're on it. We connect the dots of business so you understand what it all means.
It is our hope that the efforts of the federal government to tame inflation yield desired results as soon as possible.
I am Perpetua Fasamipita. You're watching News Central.
Many thanks for being there. Earlier on, we told you that the election of council chairmen and councillors is actually holding today in 5,863 polling units in Delta State. And we have our correspondent, Austin Azu, who's actually standing by to give us updates on this. Austin, it's nice to have you around. Good afternoon to you. So just kindly give us an update of how the election has gone so far.
It's expected by now election might have been over, but due to the heavy downpour of the rain, maybe some of the areas where election did not start earlier might still be ongoing. However, at this polling unit, DSEC Ward 4005 and Unit 2 and Unit 3 and 4, they have finished their elections here, and as a matter of fact, you can see from behind, you can see some vehicular movement. They have started moving already. So the restriction of vehicular movement has elapsed, because don't forget that the restriction of movement was placed between 8 a.m. and 3 p.m. However, from reports we gather from the field, late arrival of materials were cyclosigns, and there are some places that they didn't even get voters' materials, election materials. So these are based due to the fact that there are some areas that did not vote. So at the moment, what we can verify and tell you that election was held in the state here, and some local, polling units and some wards, some of them didn't get voting materials from the reports we gathered so far.
So does that mean that, of course, that would be the problem or challenge on the part of the electoral umpire to conduct this election? Did they give any reason, or was there any, of course, information handed down as to why elections were held late in some places and why some other polling units didn't have electoral materials or election materials delivered to them?
I believe the DSEC officials or the commissioner should be able to address that issue. At the moment, all results from the collation centers will be transmitted to the local government area, where they will further be transmitted to the headquarters, where the results will be collated and announced local governments by each local government. So the process of collation will be able to get that answer why some polling units and some some wards did not hold the elections.
Okay, so well, how would you describe the turnout? Did people come out, and what was the security provision like in the polling units that you covered?
Yes, apart from the governor's polling units, every other unit we visited in Abia local government, in Okpe local government, in Ugele North, Ugele South, part of Sapele, Warri North, most of the local government we visited witnessed a low turnout of voters. So obviously, a low turnout of voters definitely will mark the process. Don't forget that they are expecting over 3 million voters expected in these elections. So, and earlier on in the morning, we saw people going about their normal businesses, despite the fact that vehicular movements were limited. So some persons didn't actually take these local government elections very serious. So obviously, we don't expect nothing, quite different from what we saw on the feed about low turnout of voters.
Okay, Monsignor, thank you so much for giving us the details. Definitely, we'll try as much as possible to keep tabs with you and to get more details. Peradventure, of course, the collation will be conducted probably today, and we get the final results from you. Thank you for the updates. And now, of course, we will be talking to one of our correspondents, that is Chizoba Anyonwe, even as we told you earlier on the news as regards what has been happening in our axis where she is covering. Chizoba, it's nice to have you around. I'd like you to just help us understand what are the updates like.
Good afternoon, and thanks for having me. Well, the update is that the excavators have finished their work yesterday, and they have made sure that they have reached the ground level, that is level 0, according to them, to ensure that nobody is still left under the rubble. And of course, the students that have been evacuated are doing well in the various hospitals they've been taken to. We saw a number of them. We were able to speak to some of them who were in a condition to talk. Actually, some of them are still not yet in a good situation or condition to speak to the press, and that's the truth. And unfortunately, those of them that were confirmed dead, about 22 of them now have been confirmed dead. It's a very sad situation for their parents, as we heard. We have tried to trace their homes, but actually had gone to the morgues to take the bodies for burial, while those of others ones that haven't gone there are still planning for that. So we've not been able to reach those families. But however, we are keeping tabs on that. Then the governor was around early this morning at the scene of the incident to ascertain the level of destruction. And of course, he was sad about that, saying that from what he heard, because he wasn't able to see the other standing structure. That's another 2-story building belonging to the school that was also pulled down yesterday for the fear of the same incidents happening even sooner than later, actually. So he had declared a 3-day mourning for the students that lost their lives in that sad incident, and of course declared the school closed. Of course, there's no school again because all the structures there have been pulled down, and gave a strong warning to other school owners to ensure that their schools are up to standard, as in standardly built. And if not, they should take their time to bring them down to forestall any other incident as the one that happened yesterday.
Of course, you have given us these details, but I'd like to find out, as investigation started, for us to actually have an understanding of why the structure gave way in the first place, because we see the governor actually ordering the arrest of artisanal miners in residential areas, maybe because of those earth-moving activities. It could have triggered that particular collapse. I'd like you to just piece it together and help us understand why that structure caved in.
All right, some building experts were around this morning, even yesterday, and we spoke with them. And what they said independently was that from what they saw, it showed that there was lack of coordination and professionalism displayed while those buildings were being put up. So substandard buildings as such usually would cave in, would come down without staying for a long time. So for them, there was no standard in building those structures, and that is why they caved in. And the day before it happened, that was Thursday, there was a heavy downpour in Jos, and they said the downpour also gave way in helping the structure to cave in. And that was what actually happened. However, they were seen picking samples of some of the debris to go do analysis. And they said, according to what they have done so far, in a month's time, the results will be out to actually say what went wrong along the line.
Okay, thank you so much, Chizobanyanwe. We'll definitely also continue to engage you to get more details from you, and pray that the souls of the departed will find eternal rest, and of course the families will also receive reprieve. And of course, at this time, we get to link up with Joshua Imarai, another news correspondent of ours, who has been monitoring the collapsed building in Kubwa right there at the Federal Capital Territory. And Joshua will be helping us understand what the situation is right there. It's not palatable. It's not nice to hear. But then we need to get these details from our men on ground. Joshua, good afternoon to you. What can you tell us about the building collapse?
Good afternoon. Hello, I can barely hear you.
Joshua, if you can hear me, I'm actually asking what updates do you have about the building collapse? We can see a heavy-duty machine behind you trying to probably park or pull the debris away from that site. So we need more details from you, because we know you actually have been monitoring the situation. Hello, Joshua. I guess we're actually having issues with the audio back and forth. Of course, we're not able to have Joshua talk to us, but then we'll try to clear that end with our engineers, even as we bring more stories to you. A break will do for now anyway. We'll be back with more stories. Do stay with us.
For decades, The Niger Delta oil-producing region has suffered losses from oil theft and pipeline vandalism, which has led to Nigeria losing billions of foreign exchange worth of crude. But with the engagement of Tantita Security Services, pipeline vandalism and oil theft has reduced significantly. Tantita Security Services is an internationally recognized security outfit based in Delta State. Tantita specializes in providing professional security solutions to the oil and gas industry through a strategic partnership with the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation Limited (NNPCL). With over 1,000 plus field agents, 30 plus operational and combat boats, 10 ground-to-air drones, Tantita is changing the narrative around security in the Niger Delta. Tantita Security Services, dedicated to putting an end to oil theft in the Niger Delta.
Africa is rising. Again, we hear our sounds echo on the other side. Afrobeat and Afropop reinvented, hip life brought back to life, new energy infused into Kwaito and Kwela. Africa is balling. Every stroke, every shot, every race, we find our place at the top. Taking the helm of real power, new hopes for democracies. A breed of entrepreneurial tigers, audacious storytellers, and a promising generation raring to go. Truly, Africa is rising. And this is where the stories that define our continent live.
Many thanks for staying with us. It is pertinent we get details from Joshua Marai, our correspondent in Kubwa, Abuja, where we read and we understand that a building collapsed in a residential area right there. And so, Joshua, I believe you're actually covering the situation. I would like to get more details from you as regards the building collapse.
Well, I'm here currently at Kubwa, resident area of Buhari Area Council in Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, where a two-story building collapsed as at the early hours of today. However, 4 persons has been rescued from the rumble, and the excavation of the building is ongoing. And the Development Authority of the Federal Capital Territory has sealed the building and asked every resident to leave here. And currently, you can see men of the Nigerian police force are here safeguarding the property in cases of property that were left behind by a resident of the building being safeguarded. However, there is something that is worthy of note. The lady who raised an alarm of this building collapsing earlier actually ran out of the building and called on her fellow residents in the building. And unknowingly to her, some of our personal belongings were inside the building. As they were gathering and as they were outside looking at the building, then she recalled that some of our personal belongings were inside. She ran inside, and after running inside, the building caved in. And what happened after, she became the last person to be rescued from the rubble. She's currently at the hospital receiving treatment. Others are okay. We'll be gathering more as to those who have been taken to the hospital, and we'll be updating you on that. However, the Standard Organization of Nigeria and other members of the authority in Abuja have affirmed that the building will undergo a structural test to see if the building should stand or not. But however, preliminary findings from officials stated that this building was built with substandard material. They took a quick look at the sand, took a quick look at the cement and the blocks. They noted that everything used to build this building is actually substandard. And there are rumors that this building was built on a short time, that it didn't take 2 months before this building was erected. This building was first a hospital before being converted into a hotel, and now is a residential apartment.
Okay, Joshua, that was quite detailed. Of course, you have given us these updates. We'll continue to see as much details that we can get from you, even as we continue to monitor the situation. These are events or occurrences that one would wish would never happen. And we're just glad that no one actually lost their lives. Let's move on from there, even as we head to Abia State, where the state's head of services recent directive to roll back all command operations and promotions over the past 8 years sparked reactions from both current and former civil servants. Many advocate upholding civil service norms of gradual career advancement based on merit, while others argue that government may have overlooked the complexities of the issue. News Central's Chinwe Ogele spoke exclusively with the retired Abia State Permanent Secretary, Chimdi Oloha, who provided insights into the policy's potential implications.
What the governor or the government of Abia has done this time, for me, it's a good omen for the civil service, because it will help them, to help the service to fall back to shape. And you won't have a situation where you have many directors in one department, for instance.
Following the recent announcement by the Abia State government to reverse command promotions initiated by the previous administration, both current and retired civil servants have expressed their approval. While reluctant to appear on camera, workers emphasized the necessity of this corrective action to safeguard the integrity of the service. In a circular issued by the head of service, Queen Obioma, all command promotions made in the last 8 years will be reversed. The directive aims to restore the hierarchy and dignity of the state's civil service, which has reportedly declined over the years. While the government says the directive aims to facilitate merit-based career advancement within the civil service, critics argue it may be perceived as retaliatory. According to some, the previous administration granted promotions based solely on favoritism rather than merit. However, Chimdi Oloha, a retired permanent secretary in the state, argues that command promotions are within the prerogative of any leader to offer, provided they are justified by legitimate reasons.
You know that it is a good idea. It encourages. But it is not usually done as everybody, let's go. No. It is on individual basis, performance oriented.
The 2023 command promotion by former Governor Okezi Bazo, which had not yet been recognized by the Alex Oti government before being nullified, saw some civil servants promoted to permanent secretaries, benefiting from the same promotion that has now been invalidated.
Some of the beneficiaries from what I heard may have gotten appointments, higher appointments with that. So what it will mean is that they will all fall back. We are going to watch to see how this is implemented, because it is in the implementation that will justify the essence of this circular.
This new order is likely in line with the recommendations from the Civil Service Reform Committee, which recently submitted its report to Governor Alex Oti. In Omaha for News Central, Chinwe Ogele.
Despite the 6-year-old discrimination law against persons with disabilities in the country, some members of Nigeria's disability community say not much has been achieved in ending widespread discrimination. In an experience sharing chats with News Central Television in Abuja, some of them expressed displeasure at the lack of compliance to the nation's discrimination against disability law. News Central's Emmanuel Bagudu reports.
Hello, my name is Helen Deo Koalashe. I'm the national president.
This is a mother of 4 with hearing impairment, passionately narrating her plight, ranging from difficulties to access to healthcare to struggling in the wake of emergencies. She is not alone, as others with one impairment or the other also shared their experiences, despite existing law criminalizing the discrimination against persons with disabilities.
Somebody who is a person on a wheelchair was called for a job offer. You know, he lives in a place that is actually very distant from where he's supposed to go to. So because he could not be able to use the public transportation, becomes a big problem. You know, by person who doesn't even have a job, they cannot even afford a boat, you know, and because of the fact that he cannot use a public transportation, because of the public transportation is programmed in a way that is not accessible for him, he missed that opportunity.
I had my leg amputated when I was 5, so I have lived with disability since I was a child. I was an awardee of the Chevening Scholarship, and I did my LLM in International Law and Development at the University of Nottingham. I would say that the experience in terms of education is completely different from the education in Nigeria. For instance, I know that at the point, in fact, I was called to the bar working on crutches because my prosthetics got damaged several times, even in the law school, because the terrain was very bad and I could not just navigate. So I keep falling and it keeps spoiling, and my parents couldn't afford anything better than that. So at the point, I had to walk on crutches even on the day of my call to the bar. But when I went to the UK, it was a different experience entirely.
I drove to National Assembly. There was a lot of crowds, nowhere to park my car. I just went to someone. I said, please, where is the parking space for disability persons? The guy just told me, say, oh, sorry, that they don't have such here. I said, National Assembly don't have such. He said, yes. I said, okay. It was a bad experience for me because before I found where I could park that day, it was a very difficult thing for me as a physical challenged person.
I'm a mother of 4, so I've faced a lot of challenges accessing health care. It was a big challenge for me because I could not access information on how to take care of myself. I watch the TV and I can't hear what they're saying on the news. So this has been the biggest challenge for me as a person with disability.
Referred to as the Discrimination Against Persons with Disabilities Prohibition Act 2018. The law frowns at all discrimination of citizens on the basis of their disabilities. I quote, a person with disability shall not be discriminated against on the ground of his disability by any person or institution in any manner or circumstance. A person who contravenes commits an offense and is liable on conviction too. Of course, as the trial court pleases, if the person is a corporate body, a fine of 1 million naira, and an individual, a fine of 100,000 naira or 6 months imprisonment or both. End of quote. This multi-stakeholders forum comprising of federal lawmakers and the civil society community have reviewed government's commitment to enforcing existing legislations and policies meant to protect the disability community.
Our committee in the National Assembly also has the mandate to investigate compliance and implementation of the law. We have started the process of doing this, and in this connection, you will hear more on this in the near future.
Every individual, regardless of their physical or mental abilities, deserve the opportunity to participate fully in political, social, and economic life of our country.
We pass laws, but enforcement is the duty of the executive. So, Mr. Chairman, you're very experienced and your accessibility is not compared to mine. I wish Leader was here. Those fines should not be 500,000. Human beings act on sanctions and incentives. If a bank is discriminating against somebody, hit them where it hurts the most, charge them 50 million. I assure you, we'll be surprised by the rapidness that they will construct ranks. And we have the power to do that.
Stakeholders gave recommendations as part of effort to move forward.
Government should do, this law was enacted by the National Assembly. They should do the much they can in order to implement this law. For us to have an accessible transportation, because without transportation being accessible, persons with disability will find it very difficult to navigate.
When I went to the UK, it was a different experience entirely. In fact, even before I went, the school had accessed me as a person with disability. When I declared my disability, they have accessed my needs and knew what exactly I needed when I went there. In fact, I was able to fix my prosthetics, it's free of charge, and all of that. The school made provisions for disability support. They call it disability support, and advanced disability support that took care of my needs. For instance, when writing a 24 hours exams, a person with disability is given extra hours, while others will start their exams at 9 a.m. and submit 9 a.m. the next day. For me, as a person with disability, I have till 2 p.m. to submit my exams. And why is this necessary? They took cognizance of the fact that any other person can move freely within that period, cook their food, go to the time they will spend in going to the restroom may be different from the time I'm spending in going to the restroom. I was able to graduate with a distinction. I got an award. Yes, I tried, but also I had the support and I had the environment, the conducive environment. In fact, even my room in the accommodation was a special room, an accessible room. No student had that kind of room.
The 2011 World Report on Disability states that about 25 million Nigerians had at least one disability or the other. In Abuja for News Central, I am Emmanuel Bagudu.
Emmanuel, thank you so much for that very detailed report. Moving on now, a coalition of about 30 Muslim organizations in Nigeria have called on the Sokoto state government to discontinue alleged plans to dethrone the Sultan of Sokoto. The coalition spoke to newsmen in the nation's capital, Abuja, saying that a bill to amend the Sultanate Council law in Sokoto state has been hurriedly passed by the State House of Assembly and will create a crisis if assented to by the governor. Marvelous Obomano tells us more.
The Council of Sokoto is regarded as one of Nigeria's most prestigious religious and traditional institutions in Nigeria. The council, formed by the Sultan Muhammad Bello Usman Danfodio during the 19th century, is well older than the nation itself. While there have been speculations that an impasse currently exists between the Sultanate Council and the Sokoto state government, this coalition of over 30 Muslim organizations are alleging that plans have been hatched to dethrone the Sultan. They have raised an alarm calling for caution and urging the Sokoto state government to exercise restraint.
Recent events have led to an attempt to undermine the influence and authority of our revered Sultan of Sokoto and President General of Nigeria Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs, Alhaji Muhammad Saad Abubakar III, with some even suggesting a plot by the government of Sokoto state to depose him.
They say the dethronement will create a crisis among Muslim faithful in Nigeria and also create a vacuum, especially in sister countries where the Sultan has influence.
Dethroning this great personality will not be in the best interest of Sokoto state, its government, and the great people of Sokoto state. Above all, it will bring about a great disservice, disrepute, and dishonor to the Muslim Ummah of this country. We will not stand idly by while our beloved Sultan and the throne he occupies, which is more than 200 years old, are unfairly targeted.
So most of them have been contributing seriously to the stability, peaceful coexistence of the Nigerian populace as a whole. So it's not that maybe they are participating in partisan politics, but they have been playing the role as father to all in the society. Unfortunately, when a government comes in and it goes, when another new one comes in, they normally tag them as if maybe they supported the outgone administration, which is not the same.
They are calling on the federal government to intervene in the crisis and protect the nation's traditional institutions.
It is high time that the federal government, through the National Assembly, look at the way how to accommodate the traditional institution in the Nigerian constitution, because they have participated and they have contributed greatly to most of these constitutional conferences that have been held in the past.
What we as Muslim Ummah expect from the Sokoto state government and Governor Ahmad Aliyu is to further strengthen and reinforce the power and influence of His Eminence Sultan Muhammad Saad Abubakar CFR and the Sultanate.
The Kano state government had earlier repealed the Kano Emirates Council law, which has created a crisis in the state. This coalition of several Muslim organizations are calling on the Sokoto state government to avoid a repeat. This coalition of several Muslim organizations are calling on the Sokoto state government to prevent a similar impending crisis in Sokoto state. In Abuja for News Central, Marvelous Obomman.
Coming up on the news, Rwanda's President Paul Kagame holds final rally in Kigali. We'll bring you details of this and more after the short timeout. Stay with us.
For decades, the Niger Delta oil-producing region has suffered losses from oil theft and pipeline vandalism, which has led to Nigeria losing billions of foreign exchange worth of crude. But with the engagement of Tantita Security Services, pipeline vandalism and oil theft has reduced significantly. Tantita Security Services is an internationally recognized security outfit based in Delta State. Tantita specializes in providing professional security solutions to the oil and gas industry through a strategic partnership with the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation Limited, NNPCL, with over 1,000 plus field agents, 30 plus operational and combat boats, 10 ground-to-air drones. Tantita is changing the narrative around security in the Niger Delta. Tantita Security Services, dedicated to putting an end to oil theft in the Niger Delta.
News Central now continues in East Africa, where Rwanda's President Paul Kagame has held his final rally ahead of the legislative and presidential elections next week. Longtime leader Kagame and his Rwandan Patriotic Front is widely expected to win and extend his iron grip on the Great Lakes nation. However, opposition candidate Frank Habineza hopes to cause an upset. When he ran in the last election in 2017, Habineza scrapped just 0.48% of the vote against Kagame's whooping 98.79%. Kagame has been Rwanda's strongman since the end of the 1994 genocide, when his RPF militia overthrew the extremist Hutu regime, which instigated the vicious killing spree that left around 800,000 people dead, mainly from the Tutsi minority. When I head to the Horn of Africa nation, where Kenyan security forces have killed 4 Al-Shabaab terrorists and seized a substantial weapons cache near the Somalia border in a significant counter-terrorism operation. The intelligence-led mission carried out by a multi-agency security team in Banisa sub-county, Mandera, marks another crucial victory in Kenya's ongoing war against terrorism and underscores the country's increasingly sophisticated approach to national security. The operation resulted in the recovery of a deadly arsenal, including a rocket-propelled grenade launcher, 4 RPG warheads, a PKM machine gun, 3 AK-47 rifles, 7 AK-47 magazines, 5 pistols, each with a magazine, and 5 mobile phones. 8 additional militants reportedly escaped with injuries, and security forces are actively pursuing them, leveraging advanced tracking techniques and cross-border cooperation. We stay in Kenya to tell you that the police watchdog in the country is investigating whether there was any police involvement in the gruesome discovery of mutilated bodies dumped in a Nairobi dump site. The Independent Police Oversight Authority is also looking into claims of abductions and unlawful arrests of demonstrators who went missing after widespread anti-government protests. Police initially said the severely mutilated bodies of 6 women tied up in plastic bags were found on Friday, dumped on a garbage site in an abandoned quarry in Sokoto, in the south of the capital. The IPOA said in a statement later that the remains of at least 9 people had been recovered, 7 of them female, and called for swift investigations to identify them. Up north, Algerians have been reacting to President Abdelmadjid Tebboun's intention to seek a second term in an election set for September. Tebboune, who is 78 years old, was elected in 2019 with 58% of the vote following months of pro-democracy protests. Tebboune, accused of leading a crackdown on dissent since mass protests in 2019, recently announced that he would seek a second term. In March, he announced that the presidential election would be held on September 7, 3 months ahead of schedule.
يعني خدم البلاد وان شاء الله الدوزيام موندا يطلع ان شاء الله واش نقول لك يعني راه واقف انا نتمناه يعني يفتح شويه شركات اللي جون يعني يخدموا لازم يدير هذا الشيء هذا اللي جانا ضايعين
ان شاء الله يا خويا ماذا بينا يا تبون يسقم البلاد ان شاء الله ان شاء الله يوفقنا كاع الشغل تاعنا هذا ما كان هذا واش نحبوا منه هذا هو الميساج اللي نلعبوه
هو يعني في 3 سنوات ولا 4 سنوات ما تقدرش دير واش كاين ولكن الحمد لله كما نقولوا ما رحناش المديونيه والاستقرار في البلاد والامن وهذا واش الانسان واش يطلب بقات لنا الا بعض الشروط. احنا المشكل في الجزائر عندنا قضيه تاع الشباب يعني تشغيل الشباب كما نقولوا هنا ماذا بينا الدوله دير مؤسسات يعني
From other continents, we tell you that thousands of supporters of Bolivian President Luis Arce marched in La Paz on Friday to condemn a recent attempted military coup and showed support for the president. The protesters, including workers, indigenous people and peasants, Arce addressed the crowd, saying the coup attempt was driven by economic interests and a desire to control Bolivia's natural resources. The attempted coup on June 26 was thwarted, and 22 people, including military personnel and civilians, have been arrested.
19. El pueblo sale a las calles a defender la democracia, hermanos. Eso es lo que los golpistas tienen que escuchar desde aquí, desde Plaza Murillo. Que el pueblo boliviano no va a dejar pasar a los golpistas, hermanas, hermanos. Siempre detrás de un golpe de Estado hay intereses económicos y siempre en nuestro país hemos tenido que enfrentar golpes de Estado por querernos arrebatar nuestros recursos naturales, por querer estratégicamente y por geopolítica arrebatarnos lo que nos significa para nosotros el motor del desarrollo y el crecimiento.
Evo Morales ejerce de comandante de la troika opositora, asistido por...
Talking business now, the Central Bank of Nigeria on Friday intervened in the foreign exchange market by selling the sum of $122.67 million to 46 authorized dealers in its determination to promote stability and reduce market volatility. According to a statement signed by Omolara Duke, CBN's director in charge of financial markets, disclosed that of the total sale, $67.5 million was sold to 27 authorized dealers, while the sum of $2.5 million was bought from one authorized dealer on July 10, 2024. The range of the bid for the July 10, 2024 sales was 1,480 naira to a US dollar and to about 1,500 naira to a US dollar, while the value date for the payments, going by the settlement cycle of 2 days, T+2, is July 12, 2024. Similarly, on July 11, 2024, the sum of 55.17 US dollars was sold to 19 authorized dealers at 1,540 naira to a US dollar, and no FX was purchased. The value date for the payments of the spot sale is July 15, 2024. We also tell you that the government of Ghana will borrow 17.4 billion Ghanaian cedis in July 2024, an 18.8% increase over that of June 2024. This will require an average weekly bid of 3.5 billion Ghanaian cedis to refinance maturing bills. In the past 2 months, post-cash reserve requirement, there had been an average weekly bid size of 4.1 billion Ghanaian cedis. This suggests scope for the Treasury to raise new money worth that's about 3.2 billion Ghanaian cedis in July 2024. Last week, investors continued to favor the shorter end of the yield curve, with the 91-day bill raking in 2.5 billion Ghanaian cedis as against 2.3 billion Ghanaian cedis in the previous week, closing at a marginal decrease of 24.79%. The 182-day bill followed suit at 26.75%, representing a 5 basis points drop in yield, while the 364-day bill remained unchanged at 27.79%. The Treasury accepted all bids covering estimated maturities valued at 2.76 billion Ghanaian cedis. In sports, the Confederation of African Football has approved only the Godswill Akpabio International Stadium in Uyo for the 2024-2025 CAF Interclub competitions. This was confirmed in an official communique sent out by CAF. CAF noted that the list, which included 54 countries, is for the first and second preliminary round of the 2024-2025 season. Nigeria League champions Enugu Rangers, Ikenne-based club Remo Stars, and FA Cup champion El Kanemi Warriors are the teams who will take part in the preliminary stage. They now have to race against time to put their home ground in shape or play in Uyo, Akwa Ibom. The African body, however, noted that the final list of approved stadia for the indicated match days may be updated, subject to the CAF stadium inspection procedure in place. We also tell you that Turkish Super League club Atayaspor has signed Nigerian forward Jonathan Okoronkwo from the Russian Premier League club Krasnodar on a 3-year deal. Okoronkwo started his professional career with the Bulgarian side Botev Plovdiv. After he moved from Diamond Academy in Calabar, he went on to join Krasnodar on loan late in the year before securing a permanent move in 2023. Okoronkwo has scored 17 goals and 30 appearances for Russian side Arsenal Tula, where he played on loan in the 2023-2024 season. That's all at this hour, but before we go, we take a look at some of our major stories. We told you that 74 victims were discharged as Plateau State Governor Mutfwang orders closure of collapsed school. Local government election holds in 5,863 polling units in Delta State. Finally, we told you that Rwandan President Kagame holds final rally in Kigali ahead of elections. You can send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number and email on the screen. Don't forget to follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV, and you can equally watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, StarTimes channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Lekon Onobanjo.
Africa is rising. Again, we hear our sounds echo on the other side. Afrobeat and Afropop reinvented, hip life brought back to life, new energy infused into Kwaito and Kwela. Africa is balling. Every stroke, every shot, every raise, we find our place at the top. Taking the helm of real power, new hopes for democracies. A breed of entrepreneurial tigers, audacious storytellers, and a promising generation raring to go. Truly, Africa is rising. And this is where the stories that define our continent live.
The youth has 60% of its entire population, and it's time for their voices to be heard, loud and clear. Involving the young people in nation building is not merely a question of inclusion, but one that is vital for economic growth, innovation, peace, and security. Fafanua Africa provides the platform for the teeming young and vibrant population of our dear continent to voice their concerns with one goal in mind. Provide profound and tangible solutions that will help redefine and reposition the future of Africa. Join us every Friday at 2 p.m. West African Time, 4 p.m. East African Time, and 3 p.m. Central African Time on News Central TV. Fafanua Africa, redefining Africa.
The Sultanate Council of Sokoto is regarded as one of Nigeria's most prestigious religious and traditional institutions in Nigeria. The council, formed by the Sultan Muhammad Bello Usman Danfodio during the 19th century, is well older than the nation itself. While there have been speculations that an impasse currently exists between the Sultanate Council and the Sokoto state government, this coalition of over 30 Muslim organizations are alleging that plans have been hatched to dethrone the Sultan. They have raised an alarm calling for caution and urging the Sokoto state government to exercise restraint.
Recent events have left an attempt to undermine the influence and authority of our revered Sultan of Sokoto and President General of Nigeria Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs, Alhaji Muhammad Saad Abubakar III, with some even suggesting a plot by the government of Sokoto State to depose him.
They say the dethronement will create a crisis among Muslim faithful in Nigeria and also create a vacuum, especially in sister countries where the Sultan has influence.
Dethroning this great personality will not be in the best interest of Sokoto State, its government, and the great people of Sokoto State. Above all, it will bring about a great disservice, disrepute, and dishonor to the Muslim Ummah of this country. We will not stand idly by while our beloved Sultan and the throne he occupies, which is more than 200 years old, are unfairly targeted.
So most of them have been contributing seriously to the stability, peaceful coexistence of the Nigerian populace as a whole. So it's not that maybe they are participating in partisan politics, but they have been playing the role as father to all in the society. Unfortunately, when a government comes in and it goes, when another new one comes in, they normally tag them as if maybe they supported the outgone administration, which is not the same.
They are calling on the federal government to intervene in the crisis and protect the nation's traditional institutions.
It is high time that the federal government, through the National Assembly, look at the way how to accommodate the traditional institution in the Nigerian constitution, because they have participated and they have contributed greatly to most of these constitutional conferences that have been held in the past.
What we as Muslim Ummah expect from the Sokoto state government and Governor Ahmad Aliyu is to further strengthen and reinforce the power and influence of His Eminence Sultan Muhammad Saad Abubakar CFR and the Sultanate.
The Kano state government had earlier repealed the Kano Emirates Council law, which has created a crisis in the state. This coalition of several Muslim organizations are calling on the Sokoto state government to avoid a repeat. This coalition of several Muslim organizations are calling on the Sokoto state government to prevent a similar impending crisis in Sokoto state. In Abuja for News Central, Marvelous Oboman.
The just concluded NATO summit in Washington has come to a close, and with it a stark reminder of the internal divisions within the alliance. The NATO summit declaration was meant to be a show of unity and strength, but instead it highlighted the deep cracks within the alliance.
Dual-use equipment, microelectronics, a lot of other tools which are enabling Russia to build the missiles, to build the bombs, to build the aircraft, to build the weapons they are using to attack Ukraine. Is an important message to China. And then, of course, we also then state that it cannot continue like this.
The alliance comments on Russia's war against Ukraine did not sit well with China. Beijing has been increasingly critical of the alliance and its stance on its territorial claims and human rights record. China's foreign minister blasted the summit declaration, calling it hypocritical and irresponsible. He accused NATO members of trying to drive a wedge between China and other countries and warned that Beijing would not be swayed by such attempts.
The content concerning China is full of prejudice, smear, and provocation. We are strongly dissatisfied with this and firmly oppose it. We have made solemn representations to NATO. On the issue of Ukraine, NATO hyped up China's responsibility. It makes no sense and comes with malicious intent. China's objective and impartial position and constructive role on the issue of Ukraine have been widely recognized by the international community. Without any evidence, NATO has continued to spread false information fabricated by the United States.
Summit host U.S. President Joe Biden accused Russia of ramping up its wartime footing with the help of China.
They're significantly ramping up their production of weapons, munitions, and vehicles. And they're doing it with the help of China, North Korea, and Iran. We cannot, in my view, we cannot allow the alliance to fall behind.
While the NATO summit may have produced a joint declaration, it was clear that the alliance is struggling to find common ground on some of its most pressing issues. As tensions with China continue to rise, it's difficult to see how NATO can maintain its cohesion in the face of such deep divisions. For News Central, Wangani Sisiba.
Loan bill imposes strict penalties for loan defaulters. Imagine you educating someone only to make them waste the knowledge in prison.
Employing startups in Nigeria have a larger workforce and they cannot really contribute significantly to the job creation.
Technology is the present, the future, and it has come to stay.
What then is democracy if we can't exercise a core responsibility such as voting? And this would lead to digital divide and marginalization. By allowing individuals to bear firearms, we are not only increasing the personal liberty to protect, defend, and guide themselves, but also decreasing crime.
This is because our educational systems and society do not foster entrepreneurial spirit.
The impact of this argument is that if organizations and entrepreneurs can save costs on mundane tasks, they can be able to further expand on other locations.
Talking about potentials without how it impacts on our development is like explaining and explaining without evidence.
Every young person can make a difference. Every action, no matter how small, can change lives. If you're young, then you are useful. This August, join us for the 2024 Youth Day of Service with the theme Youthful and Useful, intensifying youth action for SDGs. In commemoration of the International Youth Day, YDOS is a month-long campaign that encourages community change projects around the sustainable development goals implemented by young people across Africa. This year, we're calling on all youths to step up and join the movement. Whether you're organizing a project, volunteering your time, or spreading the word, your contribution matters. Visit www.youthdayofservice.org to sign up for a project, lead an initiative, or simply lend a hand. You can also follow us on social media at Youth Day of Service for real-time updates. YDOS 2024. Be youthful and useful.
Youthful and useful.
Welcome to the Youth Leadership Debate Season 2. This is a place where young change leaders from different universities in Nigeria talk about important problems facing the country. In this episode, we will show you highlights from the first elimination round, where the debaters used their critical thinking skills. So far in this season's competition, we have seen 26 of the 32 teams of 2 contestants each from 18 Nigerian universities. In this episode, we will see 6 more teams go against each other to complete the first elimination round. First on our schedule in this episode is the battle between the University of Benin Group 3 comprising Olumide Fayeun and Assurance Ureigele, going up against Abubakar Tafawa Balewa University's Victor Damut and Rex Ojochegbe Stephen. They will be debating on religion, not politics, with advanced national progress. Before we join the contestants on the debate stage, however, let's meet our judges. Religion and politics have long been intertwined in the process of nation building. In many nations, religion plays a significant role in shaping the cultural identity and values of the society, which in turn influences political decisions and policies. Religion often forms a central part of the identity and cultural heritage of a nation. It can provide a sense of belonging and unity among the people, and many nations draw on religious symbols, traditions, and practices to reinforce their national identity. But what perspectives will the contestants give to the topic? Victor Damut, the first speaker representing Abubakar Tafawa Balewa University Group 2, arguing in proposition of the topic, holds that religion is a crucial factor in citizens' participation in politics and governance.
O God of creation, direct our noble path. This is to say that in every sphere of life, including politics, it all depends on religion. Religion, which is opined by Livingstone, said that it is a system of activities, beliefs directed towards that which is perceived to be sacred values and transforming power. Swidler also explained that it is the meaning of life and how to live accordingly. Politics is the art and science concerned with winning and holding control over a government. In fact, in a short term, I would like to say that politics, in a sense, is the way of antagonizing the people and the nation. Religious beliefs affect citizens' voting behaviors and tendencies while shaping and discussing on politics. In various contexts, formal or informal, religious communities network plays an important role in mobilizing voter registration during election periods. Another aspect to prove that religion has played great impact in improving our nation is on the input religion plays on the issue of oath of office. Religion serves as a powerful foundation for establishing a moral compass and ethical framework within a society. On the other hand, politics often involves conflicting interests, which can lead to moral relativism and weakening the ethical standards.
In her argument, Assurance Ureigele, the first speaker for the University of Benin Group 3, submits that the separation of religion and politics is essential in promoting social harmony. She goes on to provide historical examples.
As great philosopher Voltaire once wisely said, those who make you believe absurdities can make you commit atrocities. The concept of separating religion from politics is essential in promoting social harmony, preventing conflict, and ensuring that the government serves the interests of all citizens regardless of their religious beliefs. Countries with strong separation between religious institutions and the states tend to have more stable political systems and a better environment for economic growth. The United States of America is a prime example of the significance of separating the church and the state, according to the World Factbook, United States, CIA, on September 1st, 2021. The amendment of the Constitution allowing the government to remain neutral in matters of religion while ensuring that citizens are free to practice their beliefs without interference from the state. It has contributed to social harmony by preventing religious conflicts and promoting religious tolerance. Politics plays a crucial role in shaping economic policies, attracting investments, and creating conducive business environments. Nigeria's economic progress heavily relies on political stability and the implementation of sound economic policies rather than religious ideologies.
Rex Ojechegbe Stephen, the second speaker from the Abubakar Tafawa Balewa University, speaking in favor of the topic, argues that religion provides a moral compass that guides individuals to make virtuous decisions for the advancement of society.
I strongly believe that religion, rather than politics, hold the potential to advance national progress. Religion provides a moral compass that guides individuals to make virtuous decisions and fosters a sense of community. According to Ezanya in 1980, to attempt to build a nation without God is to hope to construct a massive structure upon the foundation of sand. Such building will collapse at the slightest gust of a wind. Religion has the power to inspire people to work for a greater good. The history of Nigeria is accredited to the Methodist missionaries that started the first primary school in Nigeria in the year 1943. Some Christian missionaries started CMC Grammar School in Lagos, which became the first secondary school in Nigeria. Religion has been involved in the educational sector of this country through the provision of adult education and Almajiri schools. Religious groups in Nigeria have been providing and helping people to have good healthcare services.
However, in a quick rebuttal, the second speaker for the University of Benin Group 3, Olumide Fayeun, argues that a strong political system ensures religious freedom and as such is more in the interest of a nation's progress.
Politics provides a framework for resolving conflicts and addressing societal issues in a structured and peaceful manner. In Nigeria, for example, political measures have been necessary, to tackle challenges like ethnic and religious conflicts. According to Nigerian law resources, the establishment of the Niger Delta Development Commission (NDDC) in Nigeria in the early 2000s served as a political intervention to address ethical tensions and conflicts in the Niger Delta region through sustainable development initiatives. Many developed countries have secular regimes, which means they do not favor any particular religion and prioritize governance based on rational decisions and social welfare. These countries tend to have better development outcomes. Progress requires a multifaceted approach, including political stability, economic development, education, technological advancement, and social cohesion. Relying solely on religion may not address the diverse challenges that the nation faces.
I would now want to call on our judges to give their impressions of the round so far. Please, I'd like to call first on Mercy. Mercy Oguche, what do you think of the round so far? Thank you.
Well done to both teams. Well done on being quite articulate with your points and using what we have currently in the country as case study. To a large extent, you both did outstandingly well. You both did great. And I must commend the students of Tafawa Balewa for their intentionality in background, in the poise. That was quite commendable.
To our representatives from Abubakar Tafawa Balewa University, I love the poise, I loved the calmness, I loved the persuasion in the use of your words. But let's also try to persuade in our argument also with our body gestures. And then for Uniden, I would love to speak to the second speaker. I think your recovery was really great. You started and stumbled for the first few seconds, but the moment you hit it, you kept at it. So well done. Don't allow that to ever make you reconsider yourself or your skills or talents, I think you have really done well.
The third round was amazing. I would say one was spectacular, all right? But then again, I wanted to actually commend a few things. First of all, from the Abubakar Tafawa Balewa University, I like the fact that while you're dishing out the points, you kept on reminding us that the reason why we're having this discourse is because we're trying to birth the Nigeria we want. Amazing point there, and I like that part. I would also add to what Chika said. I think this is one of the most engaging and most competitive sessions or round we've had so far today. Well done, everybody. Thank you so much.
Every young person can make a difference. Every action, no matter how small, can change lives. If you're young, then you are useful. This August, join us for the 2024 Youth Day of Service with the theme Youthful and Useful, intensifying youth action for SDGs. In commemoration of the International Youth Day, YDOS is a month-long campaign that encourages community change projects around the sustainable development goals implemented by young people across Africa. This year, we're calling on all youths to step up and join the movement. Whether you're organizing a project, volunteering your time, or spreading the word, your contribution matters. Visit www.youthdayofservice.org to sign up for a project, lead an initiative, or simply lend a hand. You can also follow us on social media at Youth Day of Service for real-time updates. YDOS 2024. Be youthful and useful.
Youthful and useful.
Also on the menu is the encounter between the University of Benin Group 2 comprising Jarikbe Constance Oriomisa and Eduji Daniel going up against Veritas University Group 3 comprising the duo of Anadumaka Stephanie and Shoaibu Anatu. They will be debating on the topic, the Nigerian child deserves 12 years of free basic education, not just 9. Jarikbe Constance Oriomisa, the lead speaker for the University of Benin Group 2, argued that good governance is the key to providing hope for the poorest people, and it is only logical for the government to go the length of 12 years to provide free basic education.
The Nigerian education system is structured with a compulsory 9 straight years of basic schooling. This system of education is captured under the Universal Basic Education, which was launched by former President Olusegun Obasanjo in September 1999. It is a 9-year basic program that will span from the primary, elementary to junior secondary education. UBE came into play as a result of the 1990 Jomtier Democracy Declaration as a strategy to achieve education for all. A 12-year basic education implies the program will run from primary education to the secondary education. It was one of the drawbacks of this UBE that brings me to my first point. First, it will reducing the UBE education in Nigeria to 9 years will increase financial burden on the parents. How do you expect someone with inability to feed the children to be able to pay for the remainder of their secondary education when they can actually focus on keeping those funds for their tertiary education? Secondly, it will address the issue of inequality. Now, what happens to the Nigerian child who is an orphan? Who will cater for their basic needs, which include education? Thirdly, it will reduce dropouts and curbing criminality. Nigeria has a total number of 20 million children out of school today. According to the UNICEF, 1 in every of the 5 of the worst out of school children are Nigerians. No nation can develop if they are illiterate. So countries that prioritize 12 years of free basic education, they are more competitive on the global stage. Since they are provided with more advanced skills, critical thinking and abilities with more exposures.
Anadumaka Stephanie, the lead speaker for Veritas University Group 3, in a quick rebuttal, argues that the important factor is not in how long the government sponsors free basic education, but in the quality of education delivered.
Today's debate is not necessarily about whether or not a person is educated in the country or if that person has equal advantages with the privileged class in the society. The debate is whether 12 years or 9 years, whether 12 years or 9 years of free education, which would be better for this young Nigerian. According to UNESCO, over the past 3 years, the federal government has spent just 1.4% of its GDP on education, which is below the 4 to 6 recommended by the UNESCO Education 2030 framework. What this tells you is that there's a low tax pressure And then we just experienced the recent COVID-19 pandemic. And so there's no infrastructure, there's no fund in the society, in the country right now to fund this educational system. If you add extra 3 years, we are barely surviving to sustain the 9. Adding 3 more years is not practicable. UNICEF said that poor quality education is pushing 4 million Nigerian children between primary 1 to JS3 to drop out annually. And it's really amazing. You know, it's like giving me a platter of gold and then not me being not able to purchase anything. Why? Because this platter of gold does not have value. Now, the Nigerian child deserves 9 years because for this free education to have a significant impact in the society, for this child to be a valuable member of the society, the child has to have top-notch and quality education.
Eduje Daniel, the second speaker from the University of Benin Group 2, also came up with a series of rebuttals to back his team's argument.
I first of all like to address what my opponent said. She first of all said today's debate is about education and not inequality. Well, education, as we all know, is described as a great enabler. So if we are discussing education, we should be talking about equality, equitable access. And so 12 years of education definitely increases equitable access. Then also, secondly, she said the Nigerian government has spent less than recommended by the United Nations. I'd like to say that this has been going on way before the COVID-19 pandemic. And then finally, you talked about the quality of education, that we should channel resources rather than putting it in expanding the years. Well, states like Ogun State, Rivers State, and Enugu State, these states, they still provide 12 years of basic education. However, we've noticed over the indices from the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics that these states still perform better than states such as Kano, Bauchi, and Katsina states in educational indices. However, even states like Kano receive far more allocation than Enugu State.
Hanatu Shaibu, the second speaker for Veritas University Group 3, sticks to her team's argument that 9 years of quality education is better than 12 years of low quality.
As you know, Nigeria is a developing country, cannot compare to those developed countries who have more budget and more resources to be able to sustain their children up to senior secondary level. Now, over the past 3 years, as my opponent has said, the federal government has spent just 1.4 of its GDP on education instead of the 4.6 recommended by the UNESCO. The cost per primary will increase at most 3 times from 2012 to 2013. The cost per secondary student will also double in low-income countries. This says it all down. Now, we have to be qualitative or quantitative as what dwelling more of what my affirmative has said. Now, Nigeria as a country, we are already struggling with the 9 years of free basic education, which we know is even as good as it should be. African government will not spend time on infrastructure. We not only spend time on infrastructure, teacher salaries, and on keep large cohorts of children in school. They also have to cover a large scale of total cost of education with the financial burden in the country. Now, let's be realistic. Can Nigeria really afford, or can Nigerian government really afford to cover the high payments of this with the already destabilized economic situation that we find ourselves? No, I doubt that is highly possible.
Time now for the judges to make their comments.
Kudos to the two teams because it's not easy, marshalling these points together and coming to speak on a live, program like this. When you start speaking, first of all, I feel that you should set the tone for your own debates and your own statements and why you feel it should be that way. Lay a solid foundation before responding to anyone. It's important, even though we can't exactly see the line of your argument. So I feel like, the intention going from the second supporting speaker was a bit misplaced. Please focus on